So it's day 17 and my back hurts thanks to the Messiah last night. So I'm going to talk for a little bit before I get around to the inevitable of playing for this video. I will put a little minute marker in the description and also maybe have like a little bubble floating around on screen somewhere that tells you where to go if you just want to skip all this and go straight to hearing me play. So, the Messiah, it was my first time playing it aside from the one brush up rehearsal that we had last week, which isn't really a brush up if you've never seen it before. So, the friend that I was sitting with, he hasn't played violin for 2 or 3 years now, and hasn't played the Messiah for about 10. So he and I both needed to basically be reading note for note last night. And that made it so that I was sitting in a really awkward position so that my F-holes could be pointing out towards this audience of like 500 people that needed to hear as much sound as they could, and also having my body turned so that I can read every note on the page. And this caused my body to get really angry at me really quickly. We had about an hour and a half of rehearsal before we actually did the run of the entire first part of the Messiah, the Hallelujah chorus, and I forget the other one. Some other one from, I think, probably the very end of the third part or something. I'm not sure. And then a couple of Christmas carols, and then the Hallelujah chorus again, and then we then we got to leave. But it was a lot of playing, and I thought it was kind of strange that my body was starting to hurt, and hurt so early in the evening, when for the past 3 or 4 months I have been playing a 16-inch viola for about 3 hours for these orchestra rehearsals. But then I realized that maybe being a violist and being in the middle of the orchestra and having the ability to turn my body any way I needed to be able to see the stand and also have my F-holes point out is a lot bit easier than playing outside first violin and having to have my body out towards the audience where the music is going to be over here. The conductor's here, so I've got these points that are all over the place and just wreaking havoc on my body. So as the evening went on, I started to sit farther back against my chair and started to turn more in, but my body was still very tired and very sore because the muscles that I use playing violin and holding it up are apparently quite different from the ones that I use to hold up my viola. And they get tired because I haven't played that much violin without putting it down for many months. So today I took most of the day off. I visited my friend and we just basically hung out all day. I got to his house around 10 o'clock and didn't leave until, I didn't get back home until 6:15. There was bad traffic on the highway. So I just started playing when I got home, and he and I were talking about summer festivals while we were, just chilling today. And he kind of convinced me to go ahead and apply for some festivals that I don't think that I will get into at all. And I also had avoided thinking about applying to because of the dates that they run, because I have pledged myself to a friend of mine from undergrad who is going to be doing a tango tour in June, and he asked me many months ago, probably back in July, if I would be free and willing to play with him for this, because he is a tango dance instructor, also a player and lecturer. I don't know. He does lots of cool stuff in the tango community. And I said, yeah, sure, I love playing all sorts of music, so I'll totally play your tango stuff. And the dates that he's going to be in my area are, well, he's going to be on tour in June and July. And he already had dates in a nearby city set for like the end of June, beginning of July. So he asked me, would I rather do early June or late July for the dates that we'd be doing it in this area. And I told him I'd rather do early June so that I can apply to festivals that will run, you know, July through August. And he was fine with it. But then, you know, that cuts me out of a fair amount of festivals. The three, I think, I only added 3 to my list today, which are NOI, NRO, and Round Top. They all start in early June. And also Music Academy starts in early June. But, you know, I don't think I have a snowball's chance of getting into these really elite festivals. But I guess I might as well try. So because I've decided to add some festivals to my list, that has expanded my excerpt list to 12 excerpts total. Some of which, Brahms, I've never played any Brahms symphony. So all of the Brahms excerpts are absolutely new to me. And that might be it. I've either played in orchestra or worked on the other excerpts before, like Don Juan. I've never played it, but I've played that excerpt like a bajillion times. So what I decided to do, because I get easily overwhelmed with all of the stuff that I need to do, I have 3 solo pieces to learn, along with now 12 excerpts. So what I did a couple years ago when I was preparing for summer festivals and my first master's recital was I cut note cards out, and I wrote on each half of the note card a excerpt, but like an excerpt of an excerpt, like, you know, from A to C of this excerpt or something, and just the first half of the Bach Allemande or something. And I put these up on my wall on a 7-day schedule, where I think it was every 2 or 3 days or something I would play every part of my repertoire that I needed to be working on. And adhering to that schedule helped me so much. So what I decided to do tonight was do something a little bit similar, a little bit different. I made tiny little cards with each excerpt on it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick out 6 of these each day. And those are the excerpts that I'm going to work on that day, and only those. And then the next day I will work on the other 6. And then I will go back and forth that way by picking a new 6 every other day. And hopefully this will work out pretty well. But if I notice that one excerpt is popping up a lot more than another, or it turns out that I'm starting to need a little more help on one than a different one, so then I'm gonna have to change my method, maybe to something more like the daily schedule that tells me, you know, you practice this excerpt every Monday, Wednesday, Friday type of thing. But we'll see. So I think that's kind of everything that I wanted to talk about. And now my back has calmed down a little bit. So what I'm gonna do this evening is I'm going to play as much of the first movement of Dvorak as I can from memory, because there are little parts that, you know, I have, you know, say the first 4 pages really, mostly memorized, or we could say 3 if you don't really count the first page, because if you know the piece, you know that the first page has maybe like 8 or 10 bars that you actually play. So I've got I've got most of the movement memorized, 3.5 pages or so, but there are little bits within those pages, of course, that just slip or that just for some reason will not stick in my head. And then there are chunks that aren't in my head at all. So what I'm going to do this evening to save my body is play as much of it as I can, and when I hit the brick wall, which will happen inevitably, I'll just stop at that point, because my goal is to have this first movement memorized by the time I need to start recording for Aspen. If that doesn't happen, I really, really, really want to have it memorized by the time I start doing the live auditions for other festivals later in January. So here we go. We're going to give this a shot. We'll see how much of it I can power through. I always overthink these, and for the sake of not having to re-record my conversation, I'm gonna peek at it. weird arpeggios go. Let's see here if I can get to the end. Alright, so that was rough, and boy, there were definitely spots that that I didn't know the music was such a crutch for me. Boy, yeah, so I've got a lot of work to do, obviously, over the next couple weeks. Might not be ready for Aspen. Anyway, see you tomorrow.